Thetai. In this video, I want to finish up section 124 of our reading from Plato, as you can see, titled He Drinks the Poison. We will pick up at line 10. Just to set the context, prior to this, the time has come for Socrates to drink the hemlock. He has received the hemlock at this point and asked the jailer if it's possible for him to pour a libation and to say a prayer to the gods, that the metoikesis, that the change of abode from earth to heaven, from here to there, might be a peaceful and a joyful one. The jailer unfortunately informs Socrates that they grind just enough hemlock uh, to bring about death. There's not enough hemlock that's been ground for him to pour a libation. Socrates tells the jailer that he understands, uh, but he proceeds then to say a quick prayer to the gods, that his passage from one world to the next might be eutuke, might be blessed or fortunate. After he said those things, he drank. Now we'll pick up at line 10. We find our narrator saying that hoi polloi, many amon of us, theos, up to that time, or till that time, many of us were able to katekein, to hold in check, or to hold back ta dakrua, our tears, literally the tears, but I will translate it as our tears. De, and here's de with genuine force, but hos edomen, as or when we saw auton, referring back to Socrates, and then a indirect statement using the accusative, as I said, auton, referring back to Socrates, plus participles, in this case, pinonta, the aorist participle, and pepokata, the perfect participle of the verb pino. But when we saw him drinking and having drunk, and we have to understand the poison, then uketi, no longer. No longer what? Well, no longer were we able to katekein, to check tadakrua, to check our tears. Instead, he says, tadakrua, the tears, and we note that this is a neuter plural noun, which means that serving as the subject of a verb, as a neuter plural, the person and number of the verb will be third singular. It's just an odd aspect of Greek. So we find out, but he says, tadakrua, the tears, ekore, came, bia, by force or forcibly, powerfully, and astakti, and in floods. And these are my tears. So he says, no longer were we able to hold back our tears, but he says, my tears came forcefully and in floods. Hoste, here introducing the result clause, with the result that enkalupsamenos, having covered myself, having hidden my face, eklaion, I wept. And he goes on to say, and, I'll translate this day not as but as rather as and hokriton and krito eti proteros emu, and Crito even before me. But Socrates said, hoia poiete o thamasioi. What sort of things, hoia, what kind of things, poiete, are you doing? And then o thamasioi, O men who cause wonder. You, but basically what he's saying, you strange people. He goes on to say, surely, mentoi, uk hekista, not least, to Heneka, on account of this, on account of weeping and wailing and all of this, I sent the gunaikas, I sent the women away. And then a purpose clause introduced by Hina, Because it's in secondary sequence, the main verb is an augmented past tense. Greek has the option of shifting a verb in purpose clauses in these circumstances to the optative, and that's precisely what Socrates does, so that um, these things might not, I don't know, hit a false note. That's literally what plemeleo means, to hit a false note. Here it means so things might not be out of tune, things might not be out of key. He wants his death to be perfectly in tune. He goes on to explain a keikoa, and here's a funny perfect form of the verb akuo. So he says, a keikoa, I have heard that it is necessary, kre, telutan, the infinitive of telutao, to die, en euphemia. And euphemia is holy silence. It is necessary to die. It's right to die, surrounded by or in or amidst a holy silence. So Socrates then gently rebukes those who are with him, and he says, but agite hesukian, keep quiet, kai carterete, and endure and bear up. So that covers our final few lines of Plato's section 124. Just to go through the full translation quickly. It says, after Socrates has spoken and ex epie and drunk the hemlock, we find that out that many of us, theos, until that point, were able to katekein, to hold back tadakrua, our tears. But hos edomen, when we saw him drinking pinonta and having drunk pepokota, and understanding having drunk the hemlock, uketi, no longer were we able to kat ekein tadakrua, to hold back our tears. But al tadakrua, emu, my tears, echore came bia astakti, forcibly or by forcefully, and in floods. And then the result clause introduced by Hoste, so that as a result, having covered myself, we note the middle, having covered myself, having covered my face, eklaion, I wept. And Crito, hode kriton, even eti, still proterosemu, before me. But Socrates, Ephe, said, Hoia poiete, O Thamasioi. What are you doing, you strange and wondrous kinds of people? Surely, ukekista, not least, tutuheneca, on account of this, tas gunaikas apepemsa, I sent the women away. And then the purpose in sending the women away, introduced by Hina, as we said, an optative and secondary sequence, so that such things, namely my death, might not hit a false note. For I have heard that, kre, it is necessary, telutan, the infinitive, to die en euphemia, in peace, in holy silence. And so he bids his friends, agite hesukian, keep quiet, be quiet, and another imperative, carterete, and endure and bear up. I hope that's useful. We'll discuss this in greater detail in class tomorrow. Have great evenings.